Happy Saturday, guys. Come on and grab your drinks, your coffee, your tea, your water, and let's talk. Saturday is about to have a birthday. Yeah, it's not a birthday, a birthday. That's Birday. Saturday is about to have a birthday. Guys, this month it will be 1 year that I have been faithfully doing Saturdays. It doesn't even seem like a year. It does not seem like a year, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see that I have been consistent with something. Not that I haven't been consistent with things in the past, but this was a stretch. Like, I'm not the public speaker, and I know you may say, well, ain't nobody standing in front of you, so you ain't public speaking. Well, I'm speaking to the camera, and you on the other side of it whenever you watch this. So it's public speaking. Speaking has always been a fear of mine, and I've said that in one of my other Saturdays. And so now I understand why. If the enemy could get me to fear the rest of my life to speak, then Saturday would never be alive. Saturday would never have a birthday. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to what's next. I'm going to continue to be obedient and do my Saturdays according to how God instructs me. But I'm believing that something is going to be birthed out of this. Birth, B-I-R, birth, T-H, B-I-R-T-H-T, birth. I don't even know how to, B-I-R-D, whatever. I believe something's going to be birthed out of this. And so whatever you do, that God has instructed you to do, has commanded you to do, has told you to do, always be expecting, not that you're doing it for that thing, but when you understand that God is not simple-minded. God does nothing by mistake. It's no coincidence. It's none of that. He's intentional. He's intentional. So what he has given you to do, what he has instructed you to do, it may not make sense now. But the more you continue to be consistent with that thing, you'll see that you're flourishing in it. You'll see what it's connected to. There's something on the other end of what you're doing. There's something on the other end of your obedience. It's not just the now reward that God gives us. And I thank him for the rewards that I have received within this year of doing Saturdays. But I know God is preparing me and setting me up for something greater. I know that. I don't know what it is, and I don't know when it is, but I know it's coming, and I'm ready. I'm prepared. I'm doing my part because God's part is already done. So the more I'm consistent with it, I'm moving forward. The more I'm moving forward, I have no chance but to collide with destiny, to collide with what God has predestined that is before me that I can't even see right now, that I don't even know. But by faith, I know it's there. By faith, I know it's there. That's a little bit of what we are going to talk about today. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. You know, we all have that saying, you've heard that saying where somebody shows you something or they read something or they show you a picture and it's like, make it make sense. Like, this does not make sense. Explain. What was the mindset behind this image? Or this post, or what they did. Explain it. Because in my mind, it doesn't make sense. In my mind, 1 + 1 = 2. And what I'm seeing, or what they did, or what I heard, that's that 1 + 1 = 3. Make it make sense. Because that's not what I learned in school. That's not what I know. Make it make sense. Well, I hate to disappoint you, but a lot of times when it comes to the things of God, it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense to our natural minds, how we see, how we think, how we imagine, how we believe. It doesn't make sense. So what do you do with what does not make sense? Well, we gonna talk about it because faith has a lot to do with what doesn't make sense. Make it make sense. What, God, you telling me to get up on Saturday and encourage with the video? You know, I'm I'm afraid of speaking. I fear cameras. If you know me and you've taken a picture of me or with me, we take 1,000 pictures just to come out with one. Because every time you take a picture, I got to see. Let me see. Oh, my eye looks little. Let me see. Oh, my gap is showing. Let me see. Oh, I look, that's my bad side. Can we get my good side? Then we take a picture on my good side. I'm like, it's still not working. Let's do it over. It doesn't make sense. It's not what I think. It's not what I want. It's not how I imagine things to go. But God, you want me to get up on Saturday? Like years ago, Saturday, I would be preparing to go travel somewhere to minister on somebody's platform for little to nothing, which I did it. I didn't ask for anything. So if you see this, then you know you didn't pay me nothing. For something I did for you at your event or your your conference. No shade, no shade. I had to go through that for God to bring me to this point, for me to really see a whole lot. That's another Saturday, man. I need to write that down. So that'll be another Saturday. I don't know what the topic or the thought is, but Saturdays, I would be on somebody's platform, in somebody's city or state, going to minister on the run sheet, on the schedule for somebody's event that they put on. Now I don't have anything to do because about 2 years ago, the Lord told me, do not accept any engagements. And I've had to turn some people I have close relationships with down. I've had to say I can't do it right now. Not because my schedule did not permit me. Not because I couldn't, but because I couldn't. Because I know what the Lord has told me not to do. Does it hurt to tell some people no? Absolutely, especially if I have a relationship with them. But I know most importantly, it is more important to trust God, to follow the instructions even when it don't make sense. God, make it make sense. Make it make sense, because there was some engagements that I did get money. There was some engagements that I did benefit from it, whether it was a connection or... So God, make it make sense. This time last year when we were in the beginning of the pandemic, it didn't make sense. Get up on Saturdays and encourage. What, God? We're going through a pandemic. But here I am today. And as I am here, it's becoming clear what God is doing. What didn't make sense last year this time makes sense this year this time. And because of my faith in knowing who he is, because of my faith in knowing what he's done, because of my faith in knowing that he is a promise keeper, because of my faith knowing that his word does not return to him void, because of my faith knowing that he will never put something before me that I'm not capable of handling, that I'm not already equipped with to walk into, I just trust him with what doesn't make sense. Make it make sense. You know, the natural mind is the enemy to faith. The natural mind, how we see, how we believe, how we think, how we imagine, is the enemy to faith. Why? Because faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So it means that I don't see it, I don't quite know it, but I trust you, God, I believe you, God, to step into it, to walk into it, to do what it is that you told me to do. However, my mind says, that doesn't look right. My mind says, well, what happened the last time? My mind says, that doesn't make sense. My mind says, well, if you do this, then it's going to lead you to this, but then it's not going to end you up where you said you wanted to be or where God said. My mind and the way it thinks, the natural mind, is the enemy to faith. My faith that believes what I can't see. My faith that believes what he said, even when, God, make it make sense. God, make it make sense. Our minds are often encouraged by what we hear, what we see, or what we experience. What I hear, what I see, what I experience, it's all like a computer. It's all downloaded here or input here. And then my mind tries to download it and tries to make sense of it, tries to code it, tries to come out with the book, the upload, the outcome. And God is saying, I need you to wash your mind from what you've experienced. I need you to wash your mind from what you know. I need you to wash your mind from what you heard. I need you to wash your mind from what you think, and let this mind that was in me, Christ Jesus, let it be in you. Take on my mindset that you will not walk by sight, what you see, but you'll walk by faith, because faith is connected to me. This is the Lord speaking. Faith connects to me. And when you walk by faith, you will always have what I say. When you walk by faith, you will always end up where I intended for you to end up. But when you push faith aside and you say, okay, natural mind, lead me, it's going to lead you to a dark path. It's going to lead you to a dead end. It's going to lead you to destruction. And that's not what God wants for us. Well, God, make it make sense, God. Make it make sense. Excuse me. Isaiah 55, 8 through 11. We're going to read that. Isaiah 55, 8 through 11. It says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, and your ways are not my ways. This is the Lord's declaration. For as the heaven is higher than earth, so my ways are higher than yours and mine. And my thoughts than your thoughts. For just as rain and snow fall from heaven and do not return there without saturating the earth and making it germinate and support and providing seed or sprout, making it germinate and sprout and providing seed to sow and food to eat, so my word that comes from my mouth, this is God speaking, so my word that comes from my mouth will not return to me empty or void, but it will accomplish what I please and will prosper in what I send it to do. Your ways are not my ways. Your thoughts are not his thoughts. So that means I have to be willing to push what I think aside to take on the mind of Christ. I have to be willing to say, I know I see this. I know I think it. I know I've experienced this. But faith says that doesn't matter. Faith said that was an experience. Faith says this does not dictate my end. Faith says, but God said. And so when my faith says, but God says, I should be willing to submit and to follow what God says. When we do not follow, when we waste time, when we stand still trying to figure out what God has spoken, when we trying to figure out what he has told us to do because it doesn't make sense to us, and we shared it with a friend and it didn't make sense to them, and they know what's up. They wiser than me. They're more spiritual than me. So if it didn't make sense to me and I brought it to them, my little God, and it doesn't make sense to them, then God, you, them, you or them. I think I'm going to go with them because they've been there, because they've done that, because they've walked this path, because they know. God, they're a prophet. God, they're a pastor. God, they're the evangelist, they're apostle. And if they said, now I'm not talking about accountability. I'm not talking about getting accountability from a leader. I'm talking about you solely trusting a leader, solely trusting man before you trust God. Going to man, seeking man's approval, man's attention before you seek first the kingdom. Thank God for the people he has in our lives to lead and help, to guide us. I'm thankful for them. But there has to be a personal connection that you have with God so that when you go to your leader, it's confirmation. It's confirmation of what God has told you, or it's guidance, because it may be confirmed, but they may say, yes, I agree. I see that. You know what? God showed me that for you, but it's not time. It's not time. So that's what having accountability will do for you. But there has to be a personal relationship so that you seek God first. And then you allow man second to confirm what God has said. But when you stand still, when you take moments to try to figure it out, like that project that you have worked on, that item that you purchased, that piece of furniture you purchased, and you got it. You opened the box and the instructions were there, and you followed the instructions. You did step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and you got to 6. And they start putting pictures of something, a tool or a nail or something that is important and vital to putting this piece together. But when you're looking in the tools that they gave you, you look and it's like, make it make sense, because that picture, I don't see anything in this bag that looks like that picture. And so now what happens? You do one or two things or three things. One or three things. You either stop because you're just frustrated, so you get somebody else to kind of put it together. You kind of take matters in your own hand and you say, well, I don't know what, but this looks like it will fit. So I'm just going to use this, only to get to step 10 and realize, ooh, step 6, I needed that too for this. And so now I have to undo 10, 9, 8, 7 just to get back to step 6, because I stepped ahead of what I understood. I stepped ahead because it didn't make sense. And you and I, in our personal lives with God, is like that piece of furniture that we are trying to put together. It came with instruction. Follow the instruction. Take a minute, take a second to really look out. In fact, some of them, especially with IKEA, they have the pictures and they'll tell you how many of this one thing you'll have, how many of these nuts you'll have, how many of these screws that you'll have. And then they may label them with letters or numbers, so that in the diagram of you putting that piece together, it's telling you, okay, this picture may not look like this because it's just a picture. But now, because it has the letter C attached to it, I can go up to the top of the page and say, okay, this is C. Okay, this is. And now put it together. But many times we stand still trying to figure out what God has already planned out. We trying to figure out what the blueprint has already been written out. We try to figure out the instruction that God has given us instead of just following. Because it doesn't make sense. When you try to figure it out, there are 3 things that you risk happening in your process of you getting to where God has set up, to you getting to where God has designed. Because whatever he's told us to do, there's a reason, there's a purpose. Remember, he's an intentional God. No mistakes, no coincidence, no oops. No, there are no oops in God. He's intentional. But when you try to figure it out instead of following, instead of listening, because it just doesn't make sense. There are three things that you risk happening. The first one is wasting time. You waste time when you stand still to begin to try to break this thing down so that your mind could understand what Isaiah 55 has already told us. Your mind's not going to understand because your thoughts are not my thoughts. While you stand still, you slow up the process God has in place. He has a process. He's a timing. He's a God of timing. We read about seed time and harvest. There's a time to plant, right? But there's a time for the manifestation of that thing, for you to reap what you have sown. But he's time. He's time. He's not like us. He's never late. He's always on time. Intentional. And while you're standing still, you slow up the process. Now, you still may get to where God has designed. You still may get what he has for you, but you're wasting time. The second thing that you risk happening when you try to figure it out, stand still, trying to make it make sense, you lose momentum. Whenever there is a flow and it is broken or disrupted, it causes frustration and discouragement. You ever been doing something, you got, first you started tiptoeing. Now you get to a place you're like, oh, I got this. Yes. Now you start grooving. Now you on cruise control because you got this thing. When there's a bump in the road or you hit a spot where it catches you off guard and causes you to stop. And or if you're doing something and every now and then you got to stop. It's like, Every time I go to start it, every time I get right to where it seems like it's going to finish, something happens. Now I'm frustrated. Now I'm irritated. And now I'm discouraged. Because it seems like every time I take a step, 2 steps forward, I get knocked 10 steps backwards. Could it be because you are standing still trying to figure out, God, make it make sense? First thing, wasting time. Second thing, losing momentum. The third thing, you miss opportunity. When you stand still trying to figure out what God has told you to do because it just does not make sense, you miss opportunity. God has a timeline. When we stop, we miss or prolong our season. How many opportunities have you missed because you were standing still? And as we talked about with the putting the furniture together, at step 6, there was something specific and intentional that needed to be done at step 6 that was going to benefit you at step 10. But you supposed to be at step 10, but you still sitting at 6 like, okay, God, but I tried it last time. Okay, God, but what do you mean step away from my job? Well, God, I'm already running. I'm behind on my bills. Now you want me to give up my job? But God, you want me to step into this thing and I'm already struggling in this area? God, you want me to get into this relationship? You telling me that's my husband? You telling me that's my wife? But my last marriage, they broke me. My last marriage, they destroyed me. My last marriage, they did me dirty, God. I said I will never get married again. And you telling me that this is who I'm supposed to be connected to? God, it don't make sense. It don't make sense. Missing opportunity. Missing opportunity. You're wasting time trying to figure it out. You're losing momentum trying to figure it out. And you're missing opportunities trying to figure it out. Make it make sense. I say no. Don't make it make sense. Make it build your faith. Because it's not going to make sense. It's not going to suffice my mind to say, okay, it's okay to do this. Even though this is crazy. Your mind is not going to say, yes, go ahead. Yes, step into it. Yes, walk by faith. Yes, take a leap of faith. No, that's my spirit connecting with my faith to trust what I hear, even though I don't see it. Stop wasting time. Stop losing momentum. Stop missing opportunity because you are standing still trying to figure out what God is doing. Truth be speaking, it's already done. He's just taking you through the process so that when you get that thing, you can appreciate where you come from. When you get that thing, you will know the price that you paid, that you will not get in that thing and just forfeit it or treat it like I got here and it didn't cost me anything. Anything that cost you, you're going to have a certain outlook about it. You're going to have a certain appreciation for it. Allow him to take you through the process, but don't get stuck in the process, stopping, trying to figure out, well, wait a minute, because this don't equal what you said, God. I can't imagine that you taking me through that fire to see a rainbow, because rainbows, they come after rain. God, I need to see rain. You said I'm going to see the rainbow. I'm going to benefit the rainbow. But I need to see rain. What do you mean fire? Go through the fire, God? Rainbows. Fire, rain, rainbows. They don't make it make sense, God. It's not going to make sense. Go through the fire. Go through the pain. Go through the struggle, knowing that his word says he will not put more on you than you can bear. So if he's sending you through it, he's going to take you through it. He's going to see that you come out on the other end of that. And on the other end of that, don't think you just come out just to say, whew, I made it through. You come out rejoicing. You come out with wisdom. You come out with boldness. You come out with strength. Because you look back and you're able to say, nobody but Jesus. Nobody but God. Make it make sense. No, don't make it make sense. Make it build your faith to trust what God is saying, to believe that he is a man of his word, So what he has spoken, what he has said, what he has instructed you to do, he has an intention, he has a purpose, and he has a plan. It's greater than what you understand. But when you go through, you'll come out. And when you come out, you'll be able to say, if it had not been for the Lord who was on my side, I would still be stuck in that thing. I would still be back there. But here I am. I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'm better. So much better, as the song says. Guys, build your faith. Build your faith to trust and believe what God has said, what he has spoken, and what he is doing. Follow the instruction. Be obedient, as we talked about last week. It ain't hard. Or is it? It's just a matter of you having discipline. It's just a matter of you having self-control. And it's just a matter of you trading your will for his. Make it make sense. No! Make it build your faith. I love you. I pray you got something out of this. Until next Saturday, keep living, keep laughing, keep loving, keep breathing. Jesus loves you, and I do too.